LinkedIn if it works. Can you folks help with that happening now? What do you see when you access the LinkedIn event? What shows up there?
It shows it is online, event by Andrews Robert. There's a button to share, people that liked the post, and that's it. There's an event link also to YouTube. Let me see. It's working.
There is the title is the launch of Hoop. I don't think that's right.
Is it?
Yep.
The link I shared is presenting a cloud native SSH. It's not that what you see.
Nope. Like I enter my home screen of LinkedIn. It shows the live happening, but it's like launch event of hoop.dev.
Here is showing me the presenting a cloud native SSH implementation.
But are you seeing the live on LinkedIn, like the actual streaming on LinkedIn?
Yes, but in my home screen only, like the home screen of LinkedIn. It is launch event of hoop.dev. The link you sent to us, there is no live in there. There's just the event link to. There's just the event link to YouTube.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. The title is fine. It's just about getting live there, and it's good that this time we managed to get it to all the places we wanted. So now we are live on LinkedIn, we're live on YouTube, and we are live on Twitch. So live everywhere. Cool. So maybe we spend a few minutes to wait for folks to arrive. Wait for a couple more minutes. Let me update that here. For at least one thing is working well. What we didn't manage to get working last time was just the software. So we're good. And yeah, it's very exciting. We're improving here. Okay, so I think we should start. And so first, a little bit of the agenda we were planning here. So I'm going to start with some background on the theme of this live, which is what can we get from a new implementation of SSH based on a more uh, advanced protocol, I would call, which is HTTP2. So like SSH is the most used remote access tool, and it's based on SSH2 protocol, which is great protocol, but compared to HTTP2 is it has many it lacks many features like multiplexing connections, like many others. So we're gonna touch a little bit on that, and then after that, we're gonna talk a little bit about jump servers and one of the articles we published in the last few weeks that got a lot of repercussion in Hacker News. So we're gonna comment that a little bit, which is connected to SSH in many ways, and how hard it is to integrate that workflow into directory, like users directories, and all sorts of things we need today, like auditing, limiting PII access, and many other things. And then we are gonna, after covering all of these problems, we're gonna talk a little bit about solutions. And I'm gonna start with highlights of Hope and how it can fix many of the problems we're gonna touch on. And then we're gonna finish with some of the releases we made over the last few weeks at Hope. So we have pretty exciting features here to talk about, including new plugin. Um, we launched our own plugin for Backstage. We did some improvements to our docs and documented a lot of use cases. So there's a lot to unpack, and I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. So let's do it. I'm gonna switch my network here because I'm not using the fastest. So hold tight. I'll be back in 30 seconds, folks. 3 seconds. Hold on. Okay, you're back. Okay. So, folks, do you wanna say something? Are you there? We can make this a chat.
We received.
Everyone agrees with the agenda. Gonna add anything?
We receive an offer here in the chat.
Things are froze. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we
Good.
received an offer here in the chat. So there's a guy offering viewers, followers, chatbots, and it's fun.
Okay, interesting. So let's move on then. It's an interesting thing. I thought they would be offering bitcoins for free or something, but that's followers is still good. So yeah, let's start. And please let's make this more of a chat than a talk, and curious about any comments on this vision that we were talking a little bit about before, which is the things we can get from a newer implementation of a new implementation of SSH based on HTTP2 protocol. So and it's interesting because I was asking GPT what the like to list me the things that would be better if we basically the same question, like what would be better if we had SSH over HTTP2, and it was able to list very interesting topics, and I'll actually pull that up to touch on them briefly. I think that was a very good summary of the points that I had in mind already, so props to ChatGPT. Uh-huh. Okay, where is it? Okay, here it is. So the advantages of a new SSH implementation using HTTP2 over the regular SSH2 protocol. 5 items are here. So first one, performance. And that's an interesting point because HTTP2 uses a binary framing layer which allows multiplexing of requests and responses over a single connection, resulting in a faster transfer speeds. It's a bit of a complicated answer, but in short, the algorithms used by HTTP2 to encode and decode data are a little bit like more modern and faster. So over like an encrypted channel, that makes a huge difference, and it's one of the first points. Second point, and it's interesting because as I went through this list and started looking at each of these points, I realized how we are using these advantages at Hope and how we are able to use these things and the features we can create because we have the power of HTTP2 underlying our implementation. So server push, again, like we use that a lot for the like negotiation. Basically, HTTP2 allows the server to push content to the client without the client requesting it, which can speed up a lot of things and make new workflows possible. One of them being the just-in-time plugin we're going to have a look at in a minute. So we have a lot of complex back and forth between client and server, and many times the server is pushing some data to the client saying, hey, like, here is something you need to deal with. And again, not possible with SSH2 protocol. Third item is header compression. So again, algorithmic optimizations that improve performance, and then improved security. encryption is a complicated topic, but fact is HTTP2 uses the latest like encryption innovations, and SSH2 is still using the same since it was created. So there's a lot of learnings from HTTP 1.2 that were brought to HTTP2. Now, the fifth is better error handling. This is pretty interesting as well. So we can find out problems with like better accuracy because error handling is better. Interoperability. HTTP2 is designed to work with the existing infrastructure, so it can be more easily integrated to existing systems. That's not super true. So, but yeah, like when we have that use cases of hope, and we have many times we have Windows users, and then we have them install our clients, and then they will have this interaction. So we are not getting the smoothest experience there. So sometimes we have dependency problems and other things. I bet that would be the same for SSH. So, but I bet SSH would work better here. At least for our use case, interoperability is not super super interesting case here to be made. Now, yeah, and the last one is mobile optimization, which is not super interesting as well. But yeah, many things here that we can connect to the innovations we're creating by using a different type of protocol. So now with that, any comments on this before we move on? Let me see here what we get in the lives. Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about one of the articles we published. And let me pull that up. How can I put this image here? Okay, so one of the recent articles we published talked about how we have different layers to manage access to, and when we look into each one of them, we end up with different solutions for each one of them. And when you add everything up, you end up with a very big and complicated stack. So this is what what a usual stack will look like. So basically this table shows from left to right what are the layers you have to get through before you get, for instance, to a Rails console. So user on the left side has to go through a firewall, public and private networks, Linux host. So many times you have Linux, deploy applications on VMs. Then you have virtualization layers, container orchestration, the container itself. So you usually have a control plane you gotta go through, container, and then the Linux process, which is the Rails application that you want to access. It's very complicated path. And when you look at each one of the 4 A's that we talk about in this article, so for each one of these layers, you want to get access. So folks need to be able to get through that. You want to get strong authentication, single sign-on, like user directory integrations. And then you want to get authorization, like making sure only the appropriate users, like the users that should be doing something, are doing it. And you want to audit. You want to make sure you can validate that what is supposed to happen is happening. It's 4 A's. And if we look at one instance of this path, so we took here one example. Each company will have their own version of this. Taking an AWS standard stack using Kubernetes, we end up with many different technologies here. So basically, you have firewall with security groups in AWS, and you have the standard AWS VPC architecture, public and private subnets, NAT gateways. And then you have Linux hosts. In AWS, you don't really see the hosts, but you do have the AWS API there to set up VMs. So you sort of, AWS is handling that behind their API for you. But you do have contact with virtualization, where you have the EC2 instances you got to manage. If you're using Kubernetes, this is behind Kubernetes nodes, but you still got to make sure this is there. And then you have Kubernetes control plane, Kubernetes API, kubectl. Then you have Docker or whatever container engine you're using in Kubernetes. Then you get to the Linux process. I won't go through all of these things, but hopefully this gives an idea of the complexity of getting, I would say, table stakes at this point. Like this is the minimum each company's, like the minimum companies should be looking to get in their access management forts. You can go way beyond that, but that's where most companies are trying to get to. And then you have a bunch of different solutions here. Again, going back to the first thing I was saying, you see SSH a lot here, and kubectl, like kube control. In many ways, you can consider kube control the new SSH. I think Kelsey Hightower said that. And yeah, so you have Bastion hosts and SSH all throughout this table. And yeah, you have to glue a lot of tools together. One of the things we are doing here with Hope is trying to consolidate many of these things. So by looking at this table, you can replace 80% of this with a single tool, which is Hope. You can replace the VPNs, Bastion hosts, and user directories and the firewalls, because we're gonna have the agent architecture that we support. And yeah, so we end up with a way better and simpler architecture, solving many of these problems out of the box. You see SSH keys or certificates here, so we replace that by HTTP2 encryption, and way better. Now, we won't go again over all of these solutions, but I want to touch on one of them, which are the jump hosts. We had this article this week that we published, got a lot of attention in Hacker News, and I think that will be interesting to go over a little bit, to talk about the problems and how we can improve Bastion hosts by using Hope instead. So, share my screen again. This is the article. It's under my name, but that should be fixed. It was Sandro wrote it. We need to fix some users setup in our blog, but yeah, it's a really interesting article, and it touches on a few things when you're trying to scale the jump host access pattern. Basically, you got like complexity of networks. So we were talking about public and private networks. Usually you have multiple accounts in your AWS architecture, and then you have multiple networks. Got to be deploying these VMs into different places. It's pretty hard to set up and manage like actual VMs at this day and age. Is not really ideal for many companies. If you're using Kubernetes, having to deploy VMs to get access is pretty not fun. So one of the things we help with here is you can deploy our agent, which will act kind of like the Bastion host, but it's a container that runs stateless. You can easily manage it in Kubernetes. So way better experience here. So yeah, nodes must be patched, updated, latest security patches. So nobody wants to manage both a Kubernetes cluster and VMs. SSH keys. Oh, this is very bad. So spreading SSH keys throughout these nodes and then handing out keys to users, it's not great. Role management. Sandra was very nice here, saying you can manage that with file system permission in Linux, but I would say that's not even like, I haven't seen a company that did that. So that says a lot. So yeah, you need to add a lot of dependencies to these nodes, which is pretty painful as well. And you also have to keep track of the list of nodes you have. So users have to remember, how can I get to that application if I have like 5 networks, like 5 VPCs, which server do I access to get to my QA or staging app? Very, like talking about developer experience, that's the opposite of that. Good developer experience, that's the opposite of that. So yeah, it's pretty bad. And here we talk about a little bit of the UX of using the jump host. And then you have to set up some jumping rules in your configurations, in your local computer. There's some security issues as well. So if you trust things, and then yeah, that's about the UX. You have a lot of bash and like putting scripts into a server, pretty bad. Creating tunnels and reverse tunnels. So yeah, these are all things that we make way better here. So I'm gonna show you how that works. And by looking at these blog posts, you already get a very good idea. So if you just look at these snippets here, you don't have to read the whole thing, but this thing here is this seems way cleaner and easier to use to me already. Use running a script or accessing a very deep host inside a very complex network for the user, like typing 3 words in the terminal and they're there. And you still get a bunch extra security measures. Interesting. So my screen was not being shared. Folks, if you wanna, yeah, basically that was the blog post I was talking about. So all the downsides of jump hosts, and then the snippets I was mentioning. This is what the jump host will look like, and then what we get for hoop. And we're gonna see this right now in the live. So I'm gonna run through some examples of what the access will look like with hoop. I didn't see that I was not sharing. So folks, if you see anything wrong, please jump into the mic and let me know. I didn't see the comment here. So it's totally fine. Should be more of a chat, as I mentioned. So now let's have some fun and see some live hoop use cases. Mateus, I remember last time you managed to add some background music, which was pretty fun. I wish we had that here now.
We do have, but I'm not a host, so I cannot help you out. But there are some options. I remember it was some options on the right side.
Yeah, I'm looking into that now. Let's see. Do we have backgrounds, video clips, overlays, logos? Yeah, not that. Oh, you can upload music. This is a video clip. Anyways, let's go straight to the demo then. So, what we're gonna be looking into here is so here I have the Hoop web application. And
sorry, if you are sharing, it's not sharing again.
Yes, thank you. Can you see now?
Yep.
Good. So that's the Hoop web application. I have 2 connections here that I have access to. So I'm an admin, but as a user, that you can have access control of your connections and make sure some users have access to only a few of the connections you have in the whole organization. In this case, I have 2 connections here. And I will start with the Postgres connection. So here I have some instructions on how to use, how to open this connection. I just copy this connect command and paste it in my terminal. I already have the Hoop CLI. It's available in Brew, so you just install it. Great. So I have a host and a port that I can use to connect to this database now. So this is a Postgres database. And once I set up the tunnel in my local computer, I can now open a client. So let's start with PSQL. So I can just connect here using the port, the host and port provided by the CLI. And now I'm inside the database. I can select anything here. I'll select everything from customers, and I get the result. So now I want to use a different client. So I close this connection and I'll open the Beaver. So I already have this connection created. So I'll just add that to show you what it looks like. Added connection. So, this is not the local version. That's why it was not redacting Sandro. It's interesting. Let's create a new one here.
Nice.
Very nice, huh? Now
I remembered that I fixed it, that bug that was not redacting on IDs.
Let's see now if we can get that working. I'll type in just anything in the password and test the connection. Is that?
Probably you need to change the driver options. Just simple query.
Oh yeah, true. I gotta change that. Let's stop this. Driver properties, and I want to do. What was the property?
Yeah.
This
yes,
one.
That's it.
Simple. Perfect. Let's see now. So we have the port is right. 5433. Yeah, it connected. Was loading a bunch of things, but here we go. You're inside.
When you're testing locally, it takes more time because it tries to redact from your mesh, from your local machine to the GCP, and this is
makes total sense.
More slow.
Yeah. Okay, so here we are. And as Sandro mentioned, I have the agent is running on my local computer. So this is not a remote. And you can see here, it's live redacting all data, which is pretty fun. I'm loading a bunch of data here, so it's going to take a little bit of time. So let me run another query. And we're going to see the amazing advantages of using HTTP2, which is you can run multiple queries and that will work.
think you have a lot of data in this table, and it will take some time.
Yeah, no, I'll run another query here. I just need to find a empty canvas I can write a query into. Does not seem to be that trivial here. This is pretty interesting. So there is that the one? No, I don't think so. Yeah, that is. Yeah. So we got it in 55 seconds. So why that took that long? Again, I'm running the agent in my local computer. You see here as I try to load more data, it's redacting the data before showing me. So that this agent is supposed to be running on a cloud server or container where that would happen extremely fast. But it's interesting. It's an interesting way to showcase how that works, running it locally. So yeah, it's pretty amazing, and it's redacting everything before I see it. Now I wanted to get a enter a SQL expression.
I think you need to go to the database and click on the right button and not on go.
SQL
Yeah,
editor. That's what I wanted. Right. Perfect. Yeah, there we go. So if I select 2 customers, should return pretty fast. Yeah, it's good. That's what it looks like to access database and have your PII redacted automatically. Now let's look into a second use case, which is pretty fun as well, which is a Kubernetes cluster. So just like the database, actually, let's have a look at the audits for that. So let me close that connection. Before we move on to Kubernetes, let's see what our plugins are doing for us. So we have so we had DLP enabled. So basically, any of this data is removed automatically from results. So we saw emails getting redacted and everything else in real time. Now, as for audits, which is another plugin we have here that's enabled, we can see the actual sessions, everything I did there, and even the things that the Beaver did for me under the hood, they are stored here as a session. So I have the full audit of the session, the time it started, ended, who did it, was myself. So that's a pretty interesting feature as well. Another plugin. So now heading over to Kubernetes. How can I access this cluster that I have here? Basically, experience is pretty similar. Only difference is that we are using different verb here, and I can access it very similar to what I have with kube control. And one thing I like to do is to actually create an alias and put that kube control behind an alias. Now I can do kube control commands as if I had access to this cluster directly. So, but instead it's going through Hoop. So let's see which pods we have in the Hoop demo namespace. There we go. We have the Band API, so I can get logs from the Band API. There we go. We have the logs. What else? I think this won't work because I'm using exec to create a session, but
I think the folder is not showing what you're typing.
Okay, it's a good point. Okay. Remove that real quick. Okay. Now you can see it. Right?
Yeah, try to
maybe clean your terminal. Maybe clean the console.
Yeah.
Now you go.
Yeah, that's it.
Nice. So
you won't be able to do that because you're trying to you're using the exec command. So you can allocate a TTI through exec.
Yep, I switched to connect, and there we go. I'm inside. I have Rails here. So we have Rails. I can start the Rails console now. So yeah, there we go. You're inside the Ruby on Rails console. I have some nice autocomplete, and it's pretty amazing.
And things are being redacted also.
Wow, yeah, that's true. So if oh boy, that's too much of the magic to me, but if I do something like this, I'll break my terminal. Yeah, I forgot the, let me try that again. I see this is find some weird things. I probably broke my agent by typing something bad there, but that's the idea. And then if I go back now to the audit, I should see my sessions here. So there we go. All the comments I executed, they are available as a session. So here I open the session. Oh boy, this is very cool. So yeah, I have the video of the whole thing and it's everything I did. It's very cool. So yeah, that's a quick overview of what we have. And these are only two of the use cases. And talking about use cases, well, one of the things we did was to document better our use cases. So here you basically have the command line type and TCP, native Postgres, but you can do a lot of things with the TCP and command line types. So what we did was to actually document a lot of these use cases in our documentation. So if you come here, you'll see how you can use these types to, for instance, protect a HTTP application that's in your internal network. How can you create an encrypted channel with SSO to your users? Can access a MySQL database with using TCP, all the Kubernetes types. So basically, these are all variations of the command line and TCP types. And a very interesting thing that we did was to basically create this button to make it easier to set up a use case. So by clicking here, you go to the connections creation page. So it's already chosen the command line for me. And then it pre-fills some data. So in this case, it's a Kubernetes type. I have kubeconfig. This is the name of the file I need. And then I just have to paste my kubeconfig here. I already populates the comment as well. So I can change it if I need, or I can use the standard version that's here. So that's a very interesting. Oh, and that's pretty fast as well. So again, that's for Heroku. It will provide me with a comment I can use and which values I need to provide here. In this case, Heroku API key. So that should make it way easier. Instead of having to copy that and go there, you can just click here and fill whatever value is missing and get your connection ready. Yeah, so that's one of the things we did here to make it easier to set up connections. And to wrap up, Rogério, do you want to show us some magic on just in time? Are you able to get it up there? If not, totally fine. Just if you have it.
Now let's go. I only need to share my screen here, and everyone is hearing me well.
Yes, we can hear you super well.
Cool. Okay. My entire screen. I need permission, and that's it.
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
That's perfect. So hello to everyone, and today we are going to take a look over the top of the just-in-time plugin. Here we have our, how can I say, a marketplace, as said, and we can see that the plugin just-in-time, our JIT, is already installed. And first, some informations. I will acting like two users here, as a dev and as an admin. And the developer, as a developer, I would like to access a connection for a certain period of time, but the company cannot leave it free for me to do it all the time. So I need to ask for a session. And is there where JIT in time comes in? So that's perfect. As an admin right now, I will access our plugin and I will turn this one on for the bash for this connection that we name it bash default. And I say that the approval groups is admin and save it. Cool. Now I will change for the other user, and I'm a developer right now. And in developer, what I want to do is access this bash default. And let's try it. So I will click on it, see the informations, and follow it. This is a terminal from the developer, and I will try. And there's a command here, and I can define how many times I want to connect with this session. Okay, it's just M, and here we go. We had a problem here. Let's try again.
We got some live demo magic there.
Yes.
Nice.
Just wait, he's thinking about it, and now here we go. Perfect. So I'm waiting for a proof from the admin, and we can look here as a link to go directly direct to the review, and we can use it here, or we can access going to the page of just in time. So just in time, and we have a pending here. Cool. let's go to this one. We have a problem here as well. And let's approve it. And go to the terminal. And here we go. Now we have access to the terminal with the amount of time that we request for. So if I want to put some comments here, everything will work fine. And this is simulated as a SSH access, as Andrews was telling to us. And it's pretty fun and easy to do with a great security for the users and so easy to set up as well.
Wow, yeah.
That's it.
This is great. This is great. Let me bring everyone back here, because that's what we were talking about. Like, think about the possibilities here in terms of holding the user and in real time without like back and forth. As soon as someone approves the session, they get unlocked and they get inside the box or whatever remote server remote session they're trying to create. So this is a pretty impressive feature and workflow to have in place, thinking about a incident resolution workflow. So everyone is in a call, instead of opening a Zoom chat, a Zoom call and screen sharing and copy and paste scripts inside the Zoom chats for others to run. They just open the session themselves and everything is recorded as well. So that's only for opening the session, but audits, PII, everything's working. So this is pretty very, very interesting solution. I think that's all, folks. I think this was pretty fun. And yeah, we are recording this. We're gonna split into many smaller videos, and hopefully folks can watch that later and enjoy it. So thank you guys for being here, and we will talk again soon. See you.
Thank you all.
Bye bye, guys. Thank